A quick disclaimer before I get started. This speech does have the mention of death, so if you are not in a place of hearing about that right now, then feel free to go watch another speech. You engage the ignition of your 2015 Ford F-150. The EcoBoost V6 twin-turbo motors roar to life, giving you the sense of confidence to drive off your driveway and go where you need to go. You struggle to see over the dash, but it's no big deal. The multiple blind spots don't seem to matter when you're safely encased in a giant hunk of metal 3 times the size of the other vehicles on the road. After all, the salesman at the dealership called this 4-door super cab a family vehicle for a reason. You can fit your entire family in it. You pull up through a school zone, stopping at a crosswalk. When all the kids pass, you hit the gas thinking that the coast is clear. But it isn't clear, and I couldn't see the child over my dash isn't a defense that's going to hold up in court. So much for family vehicle. This is the story of the light truck classification. It is a story of good intentions, corruption, and incompetence. I will be going over the history of why this class came into being, the CAFE standards, corporation marketing, and the consequences of taking the easy way out. Welcome to the 1970s, a time in America where everything is suddenly expensive. The good economic times of the 50s have well since passed. Everything has become expensive, especially oil. A conflict known as the 1973 Arab-Israeli War broke out, with the U.S. supporting Israel. Due to this, the Arab states placed an embargo on the U.S., causing oil prices to skyrocket. In order to try to save oil, the government created standards to try to help reduce consumption and emissions. This resulted in the CAFE standards created in 1975. These standards regulate how efficient each motor is, causing the emissions of cars to lower. The U.S. Department of Transportation, which is the federal agency in charge of regulating transportation for the country, wrote and continues to update a 2014 article called Corporate Average Fuel Economy Standards. This article shows how the standards are supposed to work, explaining that when they tighten the CAFE standards, automotive manufacturers must create more fuel-efficient, environmentally friendly motors. At least, that's what these companies are supposed to do. In reality, megacorporations have one goal. It's to make the most money by spending the least amount of it. This would lead to the increased production of light trucks. Now, by the sound of it, you would think that a light truck is exactly that. But it isn't. When vehicles are classed, they are classed by the structure of the frame. Manufacturers began making cars that were on the frame of a truck. The Chevrolet Tahoe is a great example of this. Why is this a loophole, though? Because anything that is considered a light truck has few emission restrictions, unlike sedans and coupes. This meant that motor companies could charge more for their vehicles and not have to worry about the cost of emission limits and profit. So, how does an automobile corporation get consumers to buy these big trucks? Aren't trucks geared towards work? Well, yes, that's exactly what trucks were meant for. They were built for farm and construction work, or whatever job may require the truck's bed or hauling capabilities. Trucks of the previous century reflect this, being shorter, having a smaller cab and a longer bed. Jack McGregor, a Smithsonian writer, wrote The Rugged History of the Pickup Truck in 2021. He explains the history of the truck, beginning in 1898. Trucks started out as being nothing more than a motorized hay cart. The First World War ramped up development and production of the truck, due to an increased demand for the ability to move supplies quickly. These 4 years were what solidified the truck's role in society. After the war, companies like Chevrolet began producing trucks en masse for the general population, causing a light truck race. The Second World War would be another PR boost for the truck. The development of the television and new marketing techniques would give the average consumer the idea of the truck. This would be the first sign of a truck being a status symbol, rather than a machine for work. Jumping to today's world, that's exactly what the truck has become. Tall, aggressive monsters that anyone from the previous century would scoff at today. Trucks are no longer advertised as work machines, but instead family vehicles. Hillsboro Ford is a dealership that published a 2022 advertisement called "What Makes Modern Pickup Trucks the Ideal Family Vehicle." The advertisement promotes the different capabilities of Ford trucks like the F-150, such as towing capacity for work and play, how pickup trucks are more comfortable now than before, and claiming that the 4 doors and 5 seats are enough for a small family. But what happened to minivans? Why would a family need a large truck? And why would a company want to argue that 5 seats and 4 motors, argue about 5 seats and 4 motors when a minivan would fit a family much more comfortably? It all goes back to the CAFE standards. Corporations are pushing trucks for families because they want to skirt emission regulations. They are canceling sedans in favor of producing more of these expensive, bulky trucks. Speaking of bulk, let's talk about size. Adrian Bernhard, a BBC journalist, wrote a 2024 article called "Are Cars Getting Too Big for the Road?" Quote, "Car shapes and sizes have steadily ballooned since the late 1970s." End quote. Cars need to get bigger at this time because of new safety features such as airbags and crumple zones. Having a large luxury car became a status symbol for consumers, leading to corporations to push for SUVs and trucks over cars. With this push came the advertisements such as the one referenced earlier, causing Americans to want bigger vehicles. A 2023 diminished value article by Tony Ratchett called "How American Pickup Trucks Have Evolved Over the Years" has a great description of how trucks have been affected by the enlargement of vehicles. In the 1960s, the cab of the truck only took up 30% of the body, while the bed took up the remaining 64%. As the years have gone on, the ratio has decreased from the bed until our modern day, where 63% of the cab takes up the body, leaving only 37% left for the bed. Trucks have also increased greatly in height over time. Due to the supersizing of cars, pedestrians and other drivers are vulnerable to greater risk of injury or death. This is because light trucks are heavier, have massive blind spots due to their height and size. This causes accidents like the one mentioned in the introduction of my speech. Not only that, but these trucks continue to harm the environment more than any other car on the road. A 2024 article published by the Environmental Protection Agency titled "Carbon Pollution from Transportation" states that, quote, "Greenhouse gas emissions from transportation account for 28% of total U.S. Greenhouse gas emissions, making it the largest contributor of U.S. gas emissions," end quote. So let's start your morning over. You engage the ignition of your 2015 Honda Fit, a small car that is perfect for your daily commute to work. If you ever did need a truck, you could always rent one. You feel a sense of confidence when the motor roars to life, not because you need a giant to feel safe, but because you are confident in your own abilities. You pull out of your driveway, being able to see nearly everything around you. There might as well not be any blind spots. You slow down at the school zone, letting the children pass at the crosswalk. Just as you let your foot off the brake, you step on it again, seeing a straggler run mere inches from the front of your car. You make it to work and enjoy your day stress-free of any car-related issues.